So all we've seen so far of Abzu is the trailer, which we just rewatched before we sat down to refresh your mind of Abzu. Was Abzu something that you were anticipating or looking forward to?
It's something I forgot about, but definitely anticipating. I really enjoyed Endless Ocean when it came out on the Wii, and I think I bought like the Japanese version of like Aquanauts Holiday or something for the PS3 because like it's like the same thing, but it's in HD. And then it's like getting past the language barrier. Like I just didn't have the patience for it. Like when I actually put it in my PS3 that day, and like it was just so it ended up just wasting like $80 or whatever I paid for it. But yeah, I definitely like that underwater exploration, and then it being having a little bit more of that fantasy element is pretty cool too.
Yeah, so it's a really simple game to learn how to control. Like the controls are really, really great. So this is made by the creative director of the game was one of the guys who worked on Journey. And you definitely get that vibe from like the color usage to like how the worlds are kind of steering you in one direction, and yet you really get the freedom to move around and go wherever you want. Like right when you start out, you really can't see anything when I started out the demo, and you're just swimming around. Like I said, controls are extremely fluid as far as like making him do what you want to do. There's no HUD,
which honestly that's a big deal because like that's always like anytime there's swimming, right? That's like the worst thing. Like Witcher 3, the great game. Oh gosh, swimming. It's like eventually you figure it out, but it's never
especially at a demo.
natural.
So I played this at Judges Week, and it's if you're playing some indie game you've never played, unless it's like a super easy side scroller, like picking up the controls right off the bat, and for something that can be kind of upside down and all over the place like swimming, it was really easy to not only move the camera where I wanted to, move everything where I wanted to, but even move him within the camera to make him kind of like do little twirly things and like interact with the environment. So he has a speed, and I think he has like a little sprint, so if you want to like swim a little bit faster, but you don't travel that fast. It's a very relaxed game. It reminded me a lot of playing Journey, and just like how that was almost like meditation in parts. It just was like really, I just felt really calm and wonderful after playing Journey, and I like kind of felt that, played this like right at the beginning of the day, and was just like, that's a nice way to start the day. So even though it has kind of a wide environment, it's easy to get places. If you want to travel faster, you can grab onto fish. So there's like big fish, there's sharks, which I don't know if you ever ride sharks in the game, but like they kind of set him up as like a villain.
They said the shark is a villain?
They didn't say anything. I mean, they really didn't say much. They kind of gave like a short introduction. This is the kind of game that they really just wanted you like to jump into it. There was a shark that popped up every now and then, and it didn't seem like he cared about me yet, that like he might be a returning character. His areas seemed a little bit choreographed, like they had specific things for him to do. Where there's all sorts of different species of fish swimming around. There was no like scanning or cataloging system. You could just kind of like enjoy them, like if you go into new areas. The areas that you were going into, some almost seemed like interiors that were kind of like caves under the water. Music constantly changing, like colors and the stuff that you can interact with constantly changing. And along with grabbing onto fish, you can also school with big schools of fish. So wherever they're generally going, you can just kind of ride on, kind of like the little carpets that you'd unlock that you could actually like ride on. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of riding this thing, but it has its own mind about where it's going. So it's really just, I mean, the demo ended when we just like reached a point basically, and it kind of like introduced a whole new area, and he went off swimming into it, and then the title comes in. So it was just it was a really organic slice of the game, and not something where I can tell like, oh, that was obviously the beginning of the game. It's like it seems like an introduction to the aesthetics of the game, but like I could see the game being something totally different.
Right.
But
did you feel like there's any kind of like goal of like you unlocking something or?
So you would unlock little camera guys that had lights, and they didn't really get into like the specific functionality of them, but you would find them in little sand piles, and then when you'd go into like darker areas, they would light them up, and you could see easier. And it was just kind of cool aesthetically to have these little like like lighted camera doohickeys just following you around, and kind of like obsessive in that like how how big your cape was in Journey. And whether like you didn't really need to get it to a great length, to finish the game, but like I could imagine people being kind of obsessive about it. So like when I went through, I found 3 of them. And they were like, oh, I think there's 6 in the demo, and I was like, kind of want to go back and play and like find all 6. But they'll open up passages for you, and like I said, it's just kind of cool to have them around. And one bit in the end, when the shark showed up, he actually bit one and like tossed it, and you lost it. So you have like, I imagine there's maybe some points in the game where you lose them, or
because your scarf could get shorter too, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like you have to be careful. So it shares a lot of those aesthetics, but I mean, you kicked it off by talking about just the general genre of underwater games, and it reminds me there's that one level in Journey that kind of felt like you were underwater.
Yeah.
Where you're like kind of like traveling up seaweed and stuff. So it's just like that. If you like that level, it's a whole game of that.
Now, one of the things like Journey has like the kind of isolation aspect of it, but it also has that like seamless like multiplayer. Do they talk about anything like that? Do they have any sort of similar dynamic?
It didn't seem like they were at the stage to talk about anything with multiplayer. It seems like it would possibly be a single player thing, because it really seems like it seems much more like Journey. You were kind of discovering all of these weird remnants of this civilization, where it looks like a lot of this is based on their passion and love for like actual like aquatic environments. So it seems much more, less of like a multiplayer thing and more that you would just generally focus on you interacting with those animals and maybe using them to solve puzzles, and like, you just exploring the environment. But it was a pretty early state. I think it was the first time people have actually gotten hands-on to playing it. So maybe that's something we're going to talk about at a later date.
Yeah.
Is that something you might check out at E3 if you get a chance?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely piqued my interest. I'm curious as to, because like one of the things with Journey is that it's weird, because it feels like when you first saw it, like you didn't really, it wasn't a game where like you could see like the huge difference in progress over time, right? But it actually did take a long time for them to make. So I'm curious whether we're seeing this now in like a state that's closer to completion, or whether we'll be like a couple of years out before we actually get it.
It seems like a really realized vision. It seems, like I said, it was one of the more organic and comfortable demos that I played throughout Judges Week, because it didn't seem like this kind of artificial slice of the game. It was really like, it was really, really inviting. It was tough to like when I could tell what the screen was doing when it was like wrapping up the demo. I was like, oh man, I could easily play this for like 2 or 3 more hours, because it's just really fun to go into see a cave and just wondering like I wonder what goes. I know the music when I swim through that entrance to that cave is going to be awesome. I know the lights are totally going to change, and like it's just going to be fun. And it's tough to do that, to like let people kind of openly go out and explore your environments, and have people not get frustrated or be like, I just kept swimming around because I couldn't tell where I was. They do a really good job at kind of marking like where you're supposed to go, and where like you might want to just kind of go off and explore this area. And it's all vertical too, so like a lot more than Journey was, where some of the caverns are really big. You can just go swim all the way to the bottom, and it's all darker down there, and see what's down there, or swim to the top. So yeah, I want to play more. It's very calming. It's a good thing to to play right at the beginning of the day.
Cool. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Thanks, man.